So, what if I told you there's a hidden law for creating your reality, but the secret isn't at all what you think? Today, we're going to dive deep into some source material that claims the key to everything you've ever wanted. Well, it comes down to a single, powerful, and often misunderstood feeling. Feel the life you want, and it is already yours. You've probably heard stuff like this before, right? It sounds kind of like something you'd see on a motivational poster. But what if it's not just a nice thought? What if it's not just poetry? The material we're digging into today argues this isn't an affirmation, it's a literal instruction manual. And that's the radical idea right there. This isn't about just thinking positive and hoping for the best. The claim is that this is a fundamental law of your consciousness, and it's just as real and predictable as gravity. It's the principle that your inner world literally, tangibly, builds your outer reality. Okay, but I know what you're probably thinking. I've tried this stuff and it didn't work for me. And look, you are not alone. The source material we're covering says that most people fail for one reason and one reason only. They completely misunderstand that one crucial word, feeling. And that misunderstanding, that's exactly what we're going to clear up right now. Okay, first up, a law, not poetry. Let's really get into this foundational idea that your imagination, when you experience it as a genuine feeling, isn't just you daydreaming. No, it's the actual act of creation itself. So how does this actually work? Well, according to the teachings of Neville Goddard, you can think of it like this. Your conscious mind, the one you're using right now, it thinks in words and logic. But your subconscious, which is kind of like the powerhouse running the whole show, it doesn't understand words. It only speaks one language, the language of feeling. You can't force it. You can't argue with it. You have to impress it with a feeling. And this right here brings us to the absolute core of the issue. What does feeling really mean in this context? Because honestly, getting this right is the entire game. It's the difference between this working for you and it not. This slide is the game changer, you guys. When we talk about feeling, it is not about trying to gen up some intense emotion or pretending to be super happy and excited. That's not it. The real secret is cultivating a quiet, inner sense of naturalness. It's that subtle internal shift where the thing you desire just feels completely normal, like it's already a part of your life. Just think about that for a second. If you were already a multimillionaire, you wouldn't be jumping up and down with excitement about every single dollar, right? It would just be normal. If you were already in that deeply loving relationship, you wouldn't be in a constant state of shock and awe. It would just feel like home. That quiet, stabilized, normal feeling, that is the target you're aiming for. So, okay, we get it. It's a feeling of naturalness. But how can this quiet little inner feeling actually change anything, out there in the real world? Let's get into the mechanics of it. I want you to imagine that your reality is a perfect mirror, a totally flawless mirror. And here's the thing about a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you want it to show. It reflects what you are. So let's say you're walking around repeating positive affirmations all day, but your deep, dominant, underlying feeling is one of being unwanted. Well, that's the signal your subconscious is getting. That's the image you're holding up to the mirror. And so life, your reality, has literally no choice but to construct people, events, and circumstances that perfectly reflect that feeling of rejection right back at you. And this is just so crucial. Your reality isn't like a cosmic Amazon you can just order things from with your wishes. No. It's a feedback loop. It's constantly responding to your dominant habitual state of being, that feeling you return to most often day in and day out. You change that dominant state, and you can't help but change the reflection in the mirror. Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical. How do you actually do this? The source material lays out a really clear, super specific 5-step method for impressing your subconscious and creating a new reality. So the very first step, before you even do anything, is this massive mental shift. You have to move away from the feeling of wanting something, because wanting just screams to the universe that you don't have it. Instead, you have to define and focus on the feeling of already being the person who has it. It's not about I want more money. It's about I am financially secure. See the difference? All right, here's the whole method step by step. 1, define the end. Get crystal clear on that desired state. 2, get into a super relaxed, sleepy state. Right before you fall asleep is perfect. 3, create a very short, 5 to 10 seconds, imaginal scene from your own first-person point of view that would only happen after your wish was fulfilled. 4, loop that scene again and again and again until it feels totally, boringly normal. And 5, this is important, you drop it. You let it go with a quiet feeling of satisfaction, just knowing it's done. Okay, and this brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. That visualization technique, that's like planting the seed. The real work, the real art, is in how you maintain that new feeling throughout your day. And this right here, this is where most people trip up. You got to ask yourself, are you trying to generate a feeling in order to get something? Because that creates tension, it creates striving, and it just reinforces the idea that you don't have it yet. Or are you allowing yourself to feel a certain way because in your imagination, it is already a done deal? See, that brings a sense of peace, a sense of naturalness, and that's the true signal of success. So your daily practice really boils down to this. When something happens in your day, you just ask yourself, okay, how would the version of me who already has my desire react to this? You start to think from the end, not just daydream of the end. And you become the gatekeeper of your mind. You consciously refuse to entertain any inner thoughts or conversations that contradict your new reality. You know, everything in our culture teaches us to strive, to hustle, to build our dream life brick by painful brick. But this philosophy flips that completely on its head. It leaves us with this profound shift in perspective. It says, you do not build it. And there it is. That's the core idea. The life you want, it already exists. It's a state of consciousness that you can enter right now. Your only job is to mentally and emotionally occupy that state. Move in. Make it feel like home. And once you achieve that inner feeling of, this is my home, the external world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. And so, we come full circle. It's not about the wishing or the wanting or even all the hard work out there in the world. It's all about the quiet, internal, sustained feeling of complete and utter naturalness. Because according to this law, feeling truly is the secret.